Welcome
Hey everybody,
to the Creek Week.
Creek this week.
Oh, that was kind of
Coke.
yeah, that was kind of cool.
It was.
We should do that
Like
every
harmony.
time. Every time we should just
I like
get it
that.
all in sync.
It was totally unscripted.
Well, hey, we're so glad you could join us as a production of Allen Creek Community Church. This is our opportunity to talk to you about the things that are happening around the church,
Yep.
talk about the messages that have happened on Sunday, and just kind of, talk about the things happening in our world. And so we are wrapping up a series, Rick, on walking away, which is walking away from faith, the idea that there are people who are walking away from Christianity. In other circles, we call this deconstruction.
Yeah.
And I know for me, I got a lot of friends who are in that camp. You got a lot of
Yep.
friends that are in that camp, and we love them.
Yep.
And we think that they're awesome people.
Mhm.
And so, can you first share what your heart behind the series was, and then we're going to kind of wrap it up.
Okay. Well, I guess the first thing I hope that the church comes away with is that deconstruction does not have to be bad. And just like you'd imagine, we try to have this, this abiding metaphor for the whole month, talking about like a building. So you got a house, you thought it had good bones, but suddenly you have a draft, or there's a leak, a water leak.
The
or
roof
something.
starts dripping.
There's something, and so what do? You deconstruct. You actually have to take a wall off.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to take apart some things that you thought were integral to the structure. Turns out they weren't. And see, that actually is really super healthy. And so it's the examined faith, right? It's the faith that's not just accepted from my parents, but it's a faith that was thought through. And when I realized that there were parts to my faith that either didn't have to be there and were actually getting in the way of true devotion to Jesus, and it's like, leave them behind, take that wall down, do some renovation. The trouble, of course, comes when it goes further, and it has gone further for many people, some famous ones we talked about, right? When deconstruction moves into destruction.
That's really good. And so, I think that what would be really good is we've had an awesome series. You guys can check it out here on YouTube. Walking Away, walk through all of those. I just listened to your one from this past weekend. It was phenomenal. Just excellent job.
What do I pay you for that?
About $20.
Okay, good. I just want to know you work for me, so
yeah. But no, did a really good job. And so, as we walk away from this series, get it? As we walk away from this series, what would be the things that we could give to the person who has a friend who's in the deconstruction mode? That Rick, I don't know as much as you do, or I don't study this stuff a lot. What are some resources I could give to them, or I could use for myself?
Yeah. Two big things that have been super helpful for me just to frame this whole conversation are Elisa Childers. She's written a book. It's called Another Gospel. And she kind of talks about what has sometimes been that transition system between the deconstructor and destruction.
Okay.
So sometimes in between, my faith has been completely disassembled and I don't believe anymore. That's over here. And here is, I'm deconstructing. I'm trying to figure out if certain doctrinal secondary issues are really that important as the evangelical church made them out to be. That's over here. And sometimes in between here and here is a thing called progressive Christianity. And it's like, it's a Christianity that's trying to rid itself of some of what's considered the baggage of evangelicalism that was considered either corny, goofy, non-biblical, not in step with Jesus, or whatever. But in the process is trying to wed itself, or at least help it harmonize with postmodernism. And postmodernism is kind of like just sort of, in general at least, it's a rejection of the modern project, which is like the super rational, thing. Everything has reasons, all that kind of stuff. Postmodernism kind of is a dive into subjectivity, relativism. And so in trying to marry the Christian gospel with that, all sorts of Christian concepts that are not secondary but primary come under fire, like the atonement, the deity of Christ, the uniqueness of the Christian message, the inspiration of Scripture, and some of those things. So trying to be a Christian and sending, like, throwing those out is like, it's it's truly a slippery slope, because then, well, at least in my experience, I've seen a lot of folks in that mode, and they don't stay there. Like, you could imagine if they could stay there, they're hanging on to Christ in some way. They've just really adjusted on some of these pretty important doctrines. But the observation, at least, is that they don't stay. And what are they? It's a temporary holding pattern until the person either reverses course, like Elisa Childers did. By the way, that's why that book is so good, because she got there. She went through right into this progressive Christianity mode where core Christian doctrines were trying to be reconciled to postmodernism, and then you just basically wind up throwing them out.
Yeah.
And you either reverse course like she did, or you just keep on going.
Yeah.
The progressive holding pattern doesn't seem to hold, because it kind of puts you in this intolerable state.
Yeah, and it seems like a lot of people that end up going into that deconstruction end up getting mad at the church and like angry with the church, right? It's like, and there's so much stuff there, I think, where it's like, man, there's hurt, and there's pain, and there's real pain, and so one of the things I love about our church is we encourage it. It's like, yeah, dude, let's pull off the walls. Let's look behind let's look behind. Let's see the truth. But
and especially like you said, if there's an emotional issue to pull apart, that's driving the intellectual issue, right? Yeah,
exactly. And so there was another good book.
Oh yes, and so Death to Deconstruction by Josh Porter, and we've been pushing out all month, and I'm not getting any royalties, just so everybody knows. I just really thought that Josh handled the issue really, really well.
Josh has young children, I think, or something.
He does. He has a couple of young kids.
So support him, you know?
There you go. Yeah, exactly. He's local. He's from Vancouver, Washington.
Oh, Vancouver, local boy.
He's the pastor there now. And anyhow, he writes beautifully. You won't agree with everything he says, but his critique is really a challenge to both those inside the church who have sometimes pushed people towards deconstruction in a bad way, but also to deconstructors. He's just so honest. Just so honest. Yep. You're just gonna like it. So
no one's gonna be safe.
No one's safe, but in a really winsome way. So check that out. It's really gonna help you. And then all those sermons are online, along with a bunch of sermon shorts. If you want to push those around to some of your friends who might be in this conversation, I'd encourage it.
Yeah, and I think my final encouragement to you guys would be, one of the coolest things we do here at Allen Creek Community Church is we offer a class called Investigations. And my friend Rick here is a nerd, and so he likes to get all of these hard questions from you guys that are like, there's no way I could believe in this, and we're currently starting it, and people can join at any point.
Absolutely, they can jump in.
And so one of the funny, like, there's just such good questions people have. It's like, was God doing child abuse when Jesus died on the cross?
Right.
Like that. There's like some really deep questions that we have answers to. We believe there's answers to, and I think part of the deconstruction movement is people weren't getting answers.
Yes.
And they weren't getting the ability to ask hard questions.
Yes.
And so what we believe here is we welcome them. We welcome hard questions, and we want to answer them with you. So if you want, you can check out Investigations online. You can join us here on YouTube, and we would love to have you on Mondays, right?
Monday, 6:30.
6:30. So hop on, you can type in stuff, we can interact with you. Also, if you want to come to our church building here in Marysville, Washington, and come hang out with us, we'd love to have you.
Love to have you.
And so, awesome, guys. Well, hey, we're so excited for this series. Was awesome. We feel like we learned a lot, and we hope that these resources help you. And we will see you guys next week.
See you soon.